Workington Academy Radio presents Behind the Algorithm. Hello there and welcome to Behind the Algorithm, a podcast in which us here at Workington Academy Radio will be diving into social media and the impacts it has on children and their mental health. And today it is episode 4 and we have a very special guest. Adrian Dakers is joining us today. Aid, can you tell us a bit about yourself and what you do to get us started?
Yes, well, good afternoon, Noah, Charlie and Ollie. It's a pleasure to be on. There's obviously me, but there's another little guest. I've got my little 4-month-old labradoodle, otherwise known as Flossy.
I think so Flossy's the better guest.
Yeah.
We've only just started, there's no need for it. Yes, so my name is Aid. I am originally from Workington in West Cumbria. I now live in Chester with my little dog, my wife and 2 kids, Ava and Charlie. And I'm the founder of a company called Little Blackbird. Little Blackbird is a personal development, a wellbeing organisation that works with young people, businesses, and works a lot within grassroots sport. Now, I don't know whether you've been in some of the talks, but I've had the pleasure of speaking at Workington Academy a number of occasions now, and we've explored issues around emotional intelligence, masculinity, which is one of the main areas in which we work. And I think you boys will have been in the talk.
I've been
We were in a couple of weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Very
so
good
we do
talk.
a lot of work. Oh, cheers. Well, we'll get into that. I want to ask you some questions as we go through. But yeah, we do a lot of work around the invisible stuff, around working on masculinity, the good side of it, emotional intelligence, all the stuff that maybe wasn't focused on when I was your age. And I allude to that sometimes in the talks. I was quite confident as a young lad. I did drama and I was at Sternburn, which was the old Workington Academy. And yes, and I played rugby from a very early age, but I didn't work on the invisible stuff. I wasn't resilient as an adult. I've shared in a number of talks, I've struggled with my mental health, anxiety in particular. It only really hit me at 35 when my little boy was born. I had a real big panic attack by his hospital bed. It was right at the start of lockdown. There was a lot of things going on, which meant we were isolated a lot at that time. And I really struggled with that. And then also, I think I'll share in the talks, a couple of years after that, I very tragically lost a pal to suicide. It was a lad who lived 2 doors down from me in Workington, and we went to school right through, and we were friends, and we were a very tight friendship group of 13 lads, now down to 12. So those 2 moments led me to take a bit of a punt, take a gamble a few years ago, and it just felt like the right thing to do, to set up the company, and we're doing all right. It's a pretty strange time in business, but we've had the pleasure of working with loads of young people, doing some really interesting things. We've just been nominated for an award in Workington with a project we did with Workington Zebras under 16s. So we've been nominated for the Sports and Community Award. So yeah, that's us, and that's what we do.
So for listeners who may not know about your work, can you tell us what you're trying to help young people become in today's digital world?
Oh, Ollie. Is it Ollie? That's a belter.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, boys, what I'm trying to do is enable young people and young lads to be the best versions of themselves. And what that means is to get a real true understanding as to who we are underneath the surface. I mean, what's going on in our head, what's the thoughts we've got, what's the positive ones, what's the ones that we need to reframe. And my aim personally is also to help young people navigate this digital world, and also to help me, to help our generation, to help re-educate. You will naturally do things that our generation struggle with. When I was your age, I had a Nokia 3310. It was massive, boys. I couldn't even walk down the road without it digging into me leg. I did not have the technology that you have. Your minds are quicker to absorb it. So in a nutshell, it's to help you get a real true understanding as to who you are, because in school you will probably get asked, and I know I got asked this question a lot, which is, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I really struggle with that question, and I still don't even think I can answer it now, and I'm 42 next week. But I could answer the question, what makes you happy? What is it that you enjoy? It would always have been being with my mates, drama, because I love being someone else. That question wasn't hard to understand, but I never really got underneath as to why. I didn't know what my strengths were as a kid. I didn't know what my developmental areas were. I didn't know that when I felt kind of fearful, I wasn't aware that I'd project that onto other people. When I was your age, I used my mouth and my tongue as a defense mechanism. I wasn't great at reflecting on why I did stuff. I was very good at disarming someone if they made me feel scared or made me feel sad or made me feel small. So I want to try and help young people get a really strong understanding as to who you are, what lights you up, what makes you truly happy in life, and what are the things that you need to develop, because we all need to learn. And I want to use young people to help us. It's a two-way process. You need guided as young people, and we've maybe got some stories, we've got some skills that can help you, and we need guided as older people. We need your skills on how we can get our head round. That's why when you asked me to come on this, I absolutely jumped at the opportunity. 3 young lads who were being proactive and using a digital platform to engage with your peers, with everyone else, I think it's amazing. And we can learn from each other. No matter what generations, what age we are, we can absolutely learn from each other. And if we do more of that, you will help us navigate the challenges of technology, of being more open and honest, and we might help you get a real strong understanding as to who you are, so you can crack on in life and absolutely smash it and achieve your potential and glide through, and maybe not have the wobbles that I had and tragically my pal had going through his life. I don't know whether that's answered it or has it?
Yes, definitely. Yes, definitely. From your perspective, what is the most overlooked mental health risk that comes with social media?
Great question. I think the most overlooked issue is the lack of regulation. The lack how anyone can literally say what they want when they want, with no thought for how it will land with someone else. And I don't think that's your issue. I think that's an issue with the big players that need to be held accountable for that. One thing that I know with my work, I didn't say previously, but my first proper job, I went to Chester University and did a drama degree. I was an actor. I used to, Miss Keaton, now she was Miss Thompson when I was at school. She was one of my drama teachers, Mrs. O'Hagan, Mrs. Chicken. I had the opportunity to have some great teachers, but when I went to uni, my first job was working in prisons. So 25 years of age, I worked in prisons all over the UK, using drama as a form of rehabilitation to help people rehabilitate and essentially not commit any more offences. And that is where I understood a lot around behaviour and how do we contemplate change in behaviour. It's where I understood the link between thoughts, feelings, and they're the ingredients to our behaviour. So I also know that what social media does, when you get hit with a comment, when you get hit with something that has a strong emotional response, young people do not have the resilience or the life experience to say, and to be rational, to say that's probably just one person's thought. Other people might think, well, if that person thinks that, other people might think that. And that's because your brain is not sophisticated enough, it hasn't developed enough, and you don't have that life experience to look at it from a different perspective. So when someone has the freedom to just say what they want, when I was your age, people probably needed a little bit more guts to say it face to face or drop it in a text to someone. A text was direct to one person. Now a conversation on a headset or something, it can just be thrown out there. So I think it's the ability to not rationalise and to not think about it from a different perspective, which is, if one person said that, that's probably just where they are and what's going on for them. So I would say the lack of regulation is scary from the big players. It needs to be monitored. We know it can be monitored from things that happened with COVID. We know that we can use technology to really isolate people, to really look at what's being said. And I think that needs to be done a hell of a lot more. And also I think for young people, it's an over-reliance on using that as a perspective. It's just one element. Another element might be from your mother, it might be from your uncle, from your grandparents, from your sports coach. Social media just gives one angle. And I think I've said this before, that there's nothing more powerful than a two-way conversation. Those honest conversations where you can challenge someone, where you can ask them to give evidence for why they think the way they think. Social media doesn't necessarily give us that. It can be a lot of one-way traffic, but there's real positives. you have information that I never had. I'd have to go through a book, and I wasn't a big reader as a kid. I maybe had 2 or 3 Where's Wally books, but I was not a reader. I struggle with it, and now know it's probably an element of dyslexia. Looking back, I am an adult with ADHD. I got diagnosed not so long ago, so it's probably elements of that. But a podcast, an audio book would have been amazing for me at your age, or when I was at university trying to do a dissertation study. But I think there's real strengths. But yeah, that area is to see that as the only perspective, the only black and white perspective. It's just one element.
So you mentioned there about the people high up in these companies need to take on responsibility. How much the responsibility do you think is on them?
It's their product. It's their platform. They need to be held accountable. There's other countries that take that to the extreme, but I think it massively needs to change if we are going to make it a safe environment where you can learn and have a platform. They need to be massively held accountable, but not just big players, government. We're starting to see it more now. There's syllabus changes where we're starting to talk about positive role models and suicide prevention, but we know that from things that happened within lockdown, we know that social media can be used to target in certain areas. We can absolutely use it to see what should be said and what isn't being said, using AI to really monitor the words that are being mentioned, the words that are being said over headsets or whatever it might be. We know through cookies that it can be, so they need to be doing more. They need to be held more accountable. You boys are cracking me up. I can see you, when I'm dropping in little words.
No, I made a mistake with the cameras.
You, lads. There's no way I'd have been able to do this at your age. That'd have been carnage.
Yeah.
Right, Ollie, next question, please.
Do you think certain platforms are more harmful than others, or is it more about how people use them?
I mean, I'm no expert on social media, and I want to kind of put that out there, but I think platforms where those throwaway comments can be dropped in, I don't know. I think there's real strengths to some elements. I think there's elements of TikTok, of things like that can be really useful, but I just think generally if there's an over-reliance on it, if we're using it too much, if we're using that, your brains at your age, your brains grow up until your early 20s. Space is precious in those brains. Even now, I get overwhelmed as a 40-year-old, early 40s. So I just think generally if we're over-reliant on that, it can be used it can be absolutely beneficial if we're just taking a small bit from that. We're not becoming over-reliant on it. But I would say if people are using that platform as a basis to say that's how they feel about me, and not having two-way conversation with your mates, with your family, with your friends, with your sports coaches, that's where you really understand. Say you're on a social platform and someone says something, what we don't want is you to go insular and say, well, that must be what they think. What we want to do is have those two-way conversations with your parents or guardians, whoever's looking after you, to say, listen, this is where I'm at. I don't know whether you watched Adolescence. You just watched Adolescence.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on it?
I think it was definitely interesting seeing what he went through after a mistake. Quite a big one. I think it was interesting on what happened.
For apologies for viewers or listeners that haven't seen it, but there's a final scene where it focuses on a door, and it's the door handle. And I think if there's any parents or adults who are responsible for young people, I think all we can do is be confident that if a young person was on a platform or doing something and they felt unsafe or scared or anything negative, you want to feel confident that young person will put their hands on the inside of the door handle, open it, and come and have a conversation. That is what, for me as a parent, as an adult, that's all we can do. So I think the real focus for young people it's about building really authentic, honest, open, vulnerable conversations with people. We don't need to be like that with everyone, but the more people that we have in our network, where if we need to be really open, honest, and I don't just mean about bad stuff, I mean about good stuff, where we can cry and enjoy crying, and that's how we're designed as human beings. We're designed to have happy tears and sad tears, but we probably need 2 or 3 people in our network where we can feel utterly ourselves with them, and not just people, sports, environments, and things like that. So yeah, I think it's understanding that alongside all of the technology, which is absolutely key, and you need to get your head around this because that's your world, that's your future. That's why it's amazing that I think you're doing this podcast, because you're being proactive. I would imagine you went to school and said, we want to do this. And that's great, because it's about developing your understanding, but not an over-reliance on it. It's just an element. The more that we can take into those conversations, say you could take into conversations with your elders, that's where you can educate us and we can help educate you, and we can both learn together.
Yeah, but to the next question, how do you personally manage your mental health while being active online?
Flipping heck, that's a great question. I have to put well, I'll tell you what, getting this little rascal is getting a dog has been a real, we did it for our kids, our little girl in particular, who was desperate for a dog. But for me, being active and getting outside of the house, getting off devices, I really look at my screen time. I have to really keep an eye on it. I'll share something with you the other day, and it made me quite sad actually, but I have listened to it. My little girl, she created me something. We were talking about phones, and she's nearly 8, and she was like, "Daddy, I want a phone." I was like, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, I'm a bit concerned because your brain's really precious." And she said, "What do you mean?" So she was in the bath, and I got something. It was like a tub full of bath toys, and I started to put toys in to see if you go on an app, this and then it started to fill up. And she went, "Oh, I understand that. So my head will get really full." And she said, "What about your brain, Daddy?" I was like, "What do you mean?" She went, "Well, you have a brain, I have a brain. When does your head get full?" She said, "You're on your phone a lot." And she went downstairs after that, and she made me a phone prison. And she got paper, and she said, "Your phone's going to go in here, Daddy." And I laughed, and then I felt quite sad. I was like, she's recognised me on that phone. So I went with it, and it went from that. And she created me a reward chart on the fridge.
Sounds like a pretty good idea.
It was a belter, and I had to do 5 days. And she was the judge. She was judging whether I was using it or not. I had to ask for permission to use it. And then I got my 5 days, and it means I've got a pass to go fishing or play golf now. I've still got to pay for it, but I suppose that was quite a bit of a humbling moment for me, because I was thinking, she's recognised that. She's recognised me on my phone a lot. And, I'm a business owner. I am running a small business, trying to grow a small business. My wife and I work together. It's really hard to maintain that work-life balance. That phone isn't just a phone when I was a kid. It's now, and we run everything on it. And that's where that over-reliance, and I've got to be really careful. And I did share that I have got ADHD, and it's a real thing, and I get overloaded and overwhelmed quite quickly. And the phone activity has a big part to play in that. So what do? I try and make sure that I'm away from my phone as much as possible. I try and balance it with physical activity. After this call tonight, I'm off to you see what happens when you get old, boys? You don't go from gym sessions, you go to yoga sessions. I'm doing a hot yoga session tonight. You've got it all to come. So I try and get balance. I try and make sure I do something every couple of days. I try and walk. Even now when I'm on the laptop, if I'm behind the laptop for a long period of time in the day, I really struggle. My focus goes. I might go home and be quite snappy. So part of having the dog is that reminder to say every hour or so, I just need a walk around the block. So I have to really just keep an eye and monitor my activity. Screen time's really effective. I listen to my friends and my family, my kids as well in particular, that if I ask them sometimes, am I on my phone a lot? And if they say yes, I'll try and manage that. And we've got a caravan as well. So I don't know if I've shared in the talks, we've got a caravan, and we live quite close to North Wales. So I try and in summer as well and in spring, try and spend a lot of time away from the hustle and bustle. When we go away in the caravan, we don't have a telly. And I don't really we try and go places where there's no signal. I put reminders on my email or out of office so I don't get in. I try and switch my phone off as much as possible when we're away, just to try and recharge the battery and almost switch the brain off a little bit. But it is a challenge, and that's what I was saying before about, I think you might not experience that because you're getting more used to it as a younger person. We aren't. I've gone from the Nokia 3310 generation to iPhone, but it's not just an iPhone with apps, it's an iPhone with a business on, it's an iPhone with emails. So it's really tricky, and then throw a little bit of neurodiversity in there as well, and it gets even harder. So I think for me, a big thing is listening to the people around me. I listen to my wife, who doesn't hold back, tells me what I need to know if I'm on my phone too much, and I also listen to my kids as well. But I'm not great, I'll be honest. I need to be better. I absolutely need to be better.
Your program, The Man I Want to Become, focuses on identity, especially for boys. How do algorithms influence the kinds of role models young people are exposed to?
It can just make it a bit cloudy. It can just add more information. It kind of brings, the algorithm can bring more to the party than what you need. And what I mean by that is, the algorithm is designed for another agenda. And I don't want to go into that, but the algorithm is designed for someone else to pop your agenda, pop it onto your plate almost. So if we focus on the algorithm, therefore over focus on technology, we're going to lose sight of what's actually right in front of our eyes. We're going to lose sight of what's around us. We're going to lose sight of the real strong relationships we've got that can help us understand our identity. Because, well, you tell me, as young lads, how do you best understand who you are or who you want to be? Where do you get your information from? How do you figure it out?
Mostly TikTok, where I get my information from.
But you have to make sure it's true.
Yeah, you have to kind of find a balance of
lots of fake news.
Yeah, what's true, what's fake, and how to use that.
Especially with Donald Trump.
Okay, yeah.
We're not going to get into that, Ollie.
Well, let's not. But how do you find balance, and how do you try and rationalise that? And that's a great challenge. That's an honest answer. But how do you try and rationalise and balance that out? Other than technology, what have you got around you where you can get another perspective?
I've got like football, and I do taekwondo, and there's all sorts of other stuff that I can go to or do that just kind of gives me a fresh perspective on everything that's happening and stuff.
Brilliant. So you've got sport. Sport can give you an amazing perspective on all those great metaphors in life, what resilience is, what well-being is, what vulnerabilities. There's nothing more vulnerable than those kind of combat sports. I've just had 2 MMA fighters on my podcast. They're going to be released in the next couple of months. We spoke a lot about how those combat sports might be deemed unacceptable or dangerous. Yes, they absolutely are, but there's no better metaphor than those sports than resilience and vulnerability. So I would say it's about balance, what you want to be doing, and what I didn't do really, because as a young lad, I was on a quest. I was really thirsty for information. I was quite good at asking questions. I was quite nosy. But looking back now, I was just really hungry to understand about emotional intelligence and what it all is, and try to get an understanding as to who I was. So I would say get a balance with that. The only way for you to understand whether it's fake or whether it's not is by opening up with your network, speaking to your parents, speaking to your mates, speaking to your sports coaches and say, what's your view on this? Or my head's here, or I've heard this and I don't know where I'm at with it. What's your thoughts? Because all we want you to do is to get as much information from the right areas to make an informed choice. Whether that's right or wrong, you will know by the consequences it creates. But if we just make informed choices by technology, we are more vulnerable to be influenced by the people that might not be living in Workington, in West Cumbria, and therefore don't know what the consequences are. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's all around making informed choices. And once you've got that idea, go and have a sounding board with the people around you. Go and see what their response is. And I've often said, I think from the people around you, it's people that you love, people that you trust, or people that you respect. If they fall into those three areas, I think 9 times out of 10, you're going to get something honest back and something that might be of use.
So far in this podcast, we've had a couple different opinions on this next question. Do you think social media should be banned in the UK, or do you think more focus should be on education?
I don't think it should be banned. I think, I don't know where you feel about this, but I quite like them being banned in schools.
Yeah.
I think it's good because it just gives you that bit of detox. But I don't think they should be banned. I just think they should be regulated. And when I say regulated, they should be monitored for anyone starting to influence anyone in a negative way with regards to mental health, well-being, suicide. It just needs to be more regulated. But for you as young people, what's the consequence if we do ban it? Based on you and other people, I think it's going to hold you back a wee bit. And this isn't about holding you back. This is about you developing a relationship with technology, because whether we like it or not, it's the future. It's your world. It's not going to be my world. Well, it probably will be for the next 20 years of work or whatever I've got left ahead of us, maybe 30 the way we go on. But I don't think it should be banned. I think we just need to regulate it, and we need to be firmer with it. And we need to learn. We know what we know what the opportunities are, but we know based on young people and where your brain development is and how easy it is to be kind of quite addicted to it. If we just put really firm, strong regulations in place, you'll be able to learn and take from it what you need, and it'll be able to be managed. Or there's nothing to say why devices can't have an alert to say you've hit your quota, you've had too much. I always think it's quite interesting with sport. I've played rugby all my life, and now you think about what rugby's doing with concussion. There is loads of things that are being put in place. You're getting mouth guards with sensors to say you've had enough, you need a break, you need an assessment. You need to go off and you need to get checked. Why couldn't we have that with devices? Why couldn't there be a warning to say you've hit your quota, or maybe you should move around? Our Apple devices tell us when we need to move. There's no reason why social media couldn't, but the problem is that there's a bigger power where, money's being made from it and we aren't in control of it. But no, I definitely don't think it should be banned. We just need to put regulations in place. We need to regulate it.
Yeah. Do you know around about what your personal screen time will be?
I am looking. Should I have a look now?
Go on then.
Oh, come on, you tell me. How do I find that on my
settings? Yeah.
Screen time. Charlie,
What do you think it is?
what's your personal screen time?
Mine's only about 4 hours a day. It's not bad.
Yeah, on average, I think mine's probably about 2.5 hours, maybe close to 3.
I just don't know, so don't ask me.
Well, what should it be? Do you know?
I think
Not a
about.
lot.
I mean, some
couple
people are on
hours
for
should
like
be.
8 hours.
Well,
That is not good.
Yeah, it's not very good. Anything more than like 3 or 4 hours probably isn't great for your mental health, but I think it's fine if it's about there.
Come on then, let's take it. Let's have a poll. What do you think? So I've got this phone is used for business, for everything.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, if that's your work, it could be about like
7.
Yeah, about 7 hours.
Ollie?
I said 6 hours. Is it a
hours.
day?
It is currently 2 hours and 49 minutes.
Wow.
Wow,
It's very impressive.
considering that's like your whole business and stuff on there, and
Well, as I look at that, it says I'm 73% down from last week.
Well, that's good.
I've-
Last
Good
week,
because of your daughter.
Yeah.
last week was when my little girl told me about the phone prison, so I don't know whether I can look back at previous months, but actually that's probably me responding to that.
Yeah.
Wow, look at that. Just so I could go fishing.
right, Ollie. Next question, please.
Where do you see the future of social media heading in terms of mental health awareness and responsibility?
Well, if changes are made and it's regulated, I think it's going to have a positive impact. And I think it's going to enable more friendships to be created. I think it's going to be grand. if it's not regulated, I do fear as to what influence it's going to have on brain development, on people's levels of isolation, on people's ability to form strong relationships with other human beings. And it's not a cop-out, but I think it purely depends on what that regulation is. If it's not regulated, anyone can create. AI is obviously going to come more into it, but I don't know. I am quite nervous about that. I mean, I'm also not one of the people that's really scared of AI. I think there's real opportunities in things. We've just got to, Charlie, you said it before, we've just got to educate. We've got to learn. I think we've got to evolve. It's like when I did drama, there was a style. Does anyone do drama?
No.
We all do at the moment.
Well,
because we haven't passed our options yet.
Well, there's a type of drama called improvisation. Are you aware of it?
Yeah, we've been.
So it's basically like if you and I were to do a scene now, you would start Noah, and then I would respond to what's being said. So what I could do is I couldn't block it. And I remember when I was a kid and when I was at university, it was my most enjoyable form of acting because you have to accept what's going on. You have to accept it. So whatever you say, whatever you imagine, you have to accept it, work together and find a solution and create. And I think that's a good metaphor for life. We spend a lot of time whinging and moaning about it, really blocking it, deflecting it to say all this and that. I think that's where we can be with technology or AI. But what we need to find ways is we need to accept it because it's a bigger agenda above our heads. And we need to find a way to pivot, to go with it, to review it if it's working or tweak it, make tweaks. We've got to learn from it and not be scared by it. And if that's minimising our time, brilliant, or if it's maximising. But I think it's very similar to that style of theatre. We've just got to find a way to respond to it and work with it to our advantage, because there is absolutely loads of advantages. But yeah, I don't know whether that makes sense, but I think that's a good analogy. We've got to find a way to live with it, to accept it, and to try and find the positives and enjoy it. And if that can be regulated by the powers that be, governments and big players, then we're on a path. But there's a lot of things that are out of our control. However, you and I are all in control of our screen time.
Yep.
I'm in control of mine, you're in control of yours. So there is a level of accountability that if we want to get a hold of it, we absolutely can.
We are going to have to start wrapping up soon, but first, on a serious note, we've asked everyone we've interviewed this, what is your favourite type of cheese?
Oh, well, what did the cheese say to itself when it looked in the mirror?
I don't know.
Hello, me. It's a great question, and it's that Wensleydale one. You know, the ones with like cranberries.
Yeah.
We've had that already.
We've had that as well, yeah.
Well,
All right, well, I'll give you another one.
Oh,
What about
double in one.
I mean, when I was a lad in Workington, if cheese wasn't orange, it wasn't cheese. It was really orange red Leicester.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I do.
I mean,
like
that's
a
my
good
second. A good bit of red Leicester on some white bread, cheese on toast. Oh, now
yeah.
we're talking.
Oh, now we are talking. So, I think that is going to be all we have time for today. Aid, thank you very much for taking time to join us, and thank you for sharing everything you've shared with us today. That has been me, Noah.
That has been me, Charlie.
That's been me, Ollie.
And
Boys, it's been an absolute pleasure from me and Flossy.
it's happened
Well
again.
done.
Happened again.
It's happened again. That was your cue. That was your cue to say.
Who have-
it. That's
who have you
me,
been?
Aid.
How many people have actually followed that?
Only one. Only one's
one
done that.
person has done that.
Should we do it again?
think
Do it
we
again.
should.
Let's just
I think we
go
should. I
again.
think
Go
we
on
should.
I've been Noah.
I've been Charlie.
I've been Ollie.
And I've been Adrian. Flossy's been Flossy.
Yes.
And we will see you next time on Behind the Algorithm. That's been us here at Workington Academy Radio. Goodbye.
Bye.
Workington Academy Radio.